GMs for hire.
What's up? Welcome back to GMs for Hire. My name's Will Polston. Alongside with me, Matthew Perry and RJ Strope. Matt from Perry's Pit, and then RJ from RJ's Pit Stop. We are here to bring you a very controversial topic that's been a controversial topic for quite some time now, but it is just recently popping off a little bit more than it usually has, and that is the name changes of certain teams throughout different sports leagues. Specifically, three teams we're going to focus on are the Washington Redskins, the Cleveland Indians, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Cleveland Indians and the Washington Redskins have been under heat to change their name for quite some time. The Chiefs have been kind of like a back burner team where they've mentioned it before. They are wondering if the Chiefs should follow suit. Nobody's really aggressively pursued the Chiefs to change their name, but it is another team name affiliated to Native Americans, in which they think that it could possibly need to be changed in the future. So to start off, we're going to give our opinions about how we feel about the name changes. I'm going to start myself. I'm going to start with the Kansas City Chiefs. My nickname is Chief in baseball whenever I played, and I am by no means Native American. I was always called Chief because I was considered the leader of the team. And that's what I think of when I think of Chiefs. I think of the leader of a pack. I don't think of necessarily an Indian or a tribe or anything such as that. I think of a leader. So I think you could get away with the Chiefs still being a good team name. I think it's an amazing team name. I think it clicks really well. It sounds pretty intimidating whenever you're talking about the Chiefs. And plus, it's a very prominent team right now. They're very relevant. I think it may be kind of hard to get away from their name at the moment. Going to the Cleveland Indians, I could see where the Indians would want to have their name changed, just blatantly called the Indians. And it's not like the Seminoles of Florida State where they have the rights of a certain tribe to use their name. They're just the flat-out Indians, which is kind of interesting. So they already changed Chief Wahoo. They went to the Chief Wahoo logo to the C. I thought that was a step in the right direction. Do they need to change their whole entire name? Possibly. I could see where some people may be offended. And then finally, the Washington Redskins, and I think this is the biggest red flag. I think this one needs to be changed more than any of them. If there's definitely one team name that does need to be changed, I think it's the Redskins. I don't think it gets much more blatantly kind of offensive than that. There's so many ways I could compare it to other people, but I'll leave that out just because I don't want to mention that. I don't want to put my face to those words. So I could definitely see the Redskins having to change, especially with everything going on in their organization right now. Moving to Matt, how do you feel about the three teams?
Well, to start, I mean, you did make some great points. I do agree with the Kansas City Chiefs comment. I do see it more as, when you think of Chief, you think a leader. I think of a leader more than anything offensive. I personally, when it comes to all three names, I don't personally have a big issue with them. But that's me personally, and it's different for someone like me than for a Native American or anyone that does have an issue. So I definitely see where the public is coming from. We've started to see, the wheels start actually turning, and this has been a story for years, whether or not it's politically correct to have any of these team names. And finally, you saw Nike pull all Redskins merchandise. The Indians said they'd begin at least considering a name change. So you see progress finally being made, which I think is good. I think it's a step in the right direction. The Chiefs specifically, though, I don't have a problem with that one. I think of it more as a leader. I don't see that as offensive. They play in Arrowhead Stadium. An arrowhead might be a symbol for Native Americans to some extent, but I personally don't associate Arrowhead with anything other than like a weapon that was used in wars and by the tribes in certain battles, what have you. The Cleveland Indians, I liked Chief Wahoo, honestly. I did like the logo. It was a good-looking logo. It was fun. It stood out to me. There was something about it that caught my eye. I think it was maybe the eyes, the smile, maybe. As I sit here with my MLB bed sheets, it's sitting here on my bed. These are a couple of years old, but I do see why they got rid of the Chief Wahoo. That was also a step in the right direction. Going to the C now, I think it doesn't really change their look. The Indians still have nice uniforms. Everything still comes together. I am excited somewhat to see what they can do with a name change, because I do have some ideas that I'm pretty fond of, but it is a step in the right direction. And then, as you mentioned, the Redskins, I do agree that that is the most controversial one and one that is most in need of change. When you think of Washington, D.C., when you think of the nation's capital, I definitely don't think a Redskin comes to anybody's mind, or a Native American for that matter. There's so much more you can do with the Washington name and the history and the, I don't want to say honor, the prestige it has. So I do think, especially out of respect for the Native Americans, changing the Redskin name is a step in the right direction for sure. And I think that's the most agreeable thing anyone can say here.
I know you mentioned that Nike pulled all the Redskins gear, and if anybody watched the previous episode on Mahomes' contract, RJ and I also talked about how the Redskins, FedEx Field, their main sponsor, is pulling their name from the field. So not only is Nike not selling their merchandise, but now your main sponsor doesn't even want to be affiliated with your team because of the team name. It's bringing a lot of controversy to the team. So that's our opinion. RJ, anything you'd like to add on that? Maybe a differing opinion? Anything? Well, let's see what you have to hear as you give a nice big grin. You get to throw your name out there. Let's see it. RJ Strope, everybody.
Yeah, you can put my name in big ass letters. I don't care. The Washington Redskins, yeah, that team name, it's played. It's time to go. Because you are literally calling somebody by the color of their skin. There's no black skins. There's no white skins. You don't need the Redskins. I'm glad that Nike and FedEx have stepped up. Money talks. Dan Snyder said he was never going to change the team name. Money starts talking. Now all of a sudden we're going to start making changes. Washington Redskins, I'm totally cool with that. And that's where I stop. What are we doing as a country here? How are we so offended by the Kansas City Chiefs, who are a leader? Like you said, Will, like you said, Matt, the chief is the leader of the tribe. The Kansas City Chiefs don't have a disrespectful name, disrespectful mascot, disrespectful stadium, none of that. The Kansas City Chiefs are looked at as warriors. They are looked at as the chiefs, the leaders of the pack. Like you said, Will. What about the Cleveland Indians? They already got rid of Chief Wahoo. The Indians' team name came from a Native American player who played for the Indians. The Cleveland Indians, by the way, were founded in 1915. That's 105 years ago. If something was wrong with that team name, don't you think we would have figured it out 100 years, like over the course of 100 years? How about we stop trying to be politically correct? Let's stop trying to make everybody happy, because you're never going to do it. I don't care what you do. You can change every team name in sports. You're never going to make everybody happy. The Redskins, they got to go. All the other ones, don't hand me that, because most of the people arguing and complaining and saying they're offended aren't Native Americans. It's this new generation of woke social media warriors that have to fight everything and have to hate everything, and they live miserable lives and they will never be happy. The Cleveland Indians, don't change your name. The Kansas City Chiefs, don't change your name. Chicago Blackhawks, Atlanta Braves, don't change your name. There's nothing wrong with that. If we're going to change the Cleveland Indians name, what are we going to replace it with? Because literally what you would be doing is taking away an Indian and replacing it with something else. Isn't that what a lot of these woke people are mad at Christopher Columbus for doing? So how are you any better than that? You're literally getting rid of an Indian. Now we're never even going to think about Native Americans and the people who were here before us. Before us. Don't you think we should have some way to remember them? Now, yeah, I'm not going to call them a redskin, but there is nothing wrong with Indians, Chiefs, Braves, Seminoles especially, because they're honoring a tribe that was never conquered by settlers. These team names are not offensive. And I know some viewers are going to sit here and say, yeah, well, that's nice, little Southern white boy. You don't get to choose what's offensive to these people and what's not. That's fine. I've got Native American blood in me. My dad's side of the family is right here in Florida. We are Seminoles. We've got that Seminole blood. Now, look, I've got blonde hair and blue eyes, so I don't have a ton of it, but I'm still a descendant, and I don't know anybody in my family. I can go back however far. I don't know one person in my family who has ever been offended by a team name of a baseball team that plays 1,000 miles away up in Ohio. Trust me, we don't care. I promise you we don't care. But for all the people out there that want to be woke and want to make everybody happy, I've actually got a little list here, all right? Because if we're going to get rid of the Indians and the Chiefs, I say we go, let's go full throttle here. New York Giants, San Francisco Giants. I think the term giant is offensive to tall people. I'm 5'8". I wish I was taller. I don't want tall people to have a word that I can't be classified as. How about the Carolina Panthers, my team, my boys? Change the name. I don't want them to get confused with the Black Panther Party, who, when you Google them, is described as a racist organization whose leaders promote violence against whites. That's not something I think a team should be, subject to being lumped together with. So, Carolina Panthers, change your name. How about the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Tampa Bay Bucks? I'm sure there's a more politically correct, woke name we could call Pirates. Not a pirate, not a Buccaneer. I'm sure we could do better, right? Cleveland Browns. You really want me to go there? Y'all got to go. Change the name. How about the Boston Celtics logo? Have you ever looked at that logo? It's a fat Irish guy with a pipe in his mouth. Well, I don't want my kids to know that people smoke pipes. No. We got to be woke. We got to be woke. How about the Los Angeles Angels? That's offensive to atheists. There's atheists that don't believe in angels. Man, we got to get rid of the LA Angels. Sorry, Trout, you're going to have to change your jersey, bud. And one last one, you're going to love it, Matt. How about the New York Yankees? All you people from up north get mad when us Southerners call y'all Yankees, but it's okay for a baseball team to literally be called the Yankees. Get rid of them. It's offensive. You guys are all butthurt when us Southern people call y'all Yankees. Get rid of that baseball team name. I'm just saying, America, wake up. You don't have to be woke every second of every single day. You're never going to make everybody happy, and that's fine. Redskins, go. Indians, Chiefs, Braves, Seminoles, everybody else, you're fine. And there's nothing wrong with it, and you're not going to change my opinion.
We got you on the right episode, that's for sure.
I don't think they called a Yankee in about 200 years.
I call people
It could be
anybody.
an offensive term.
Listen, anybody born north of Virginia is a Yankee to me. So, hey.
I've never heard anyone use it besides
They're all,
team.
well,
I can actually attest. I was on social media the other day, and I found people calling other people Yankees. I've for some reason it's not. Of course, it's not obviously not nearly to the extent as it used to be used. But I mean, every now and then you're going to still find people who use it. And to be honest, I think RJ has a good point when it comes to a lot of those other ones, such as the Braves, the Seminoles, the Chiefs, the Indians. Isn't changing their name almost like wiping them away from history almost a little bit? Like,
and didn't we do that once? We already did
Right.
that once. You really want to do it again?
Yeah, and I don't think anybody really wants to, because that's the whole problem in the first place. It's all about honoring them and keeping, being respectful to the Native Americans and everything such as that. And now you're going to take away obviously, I'm sure all these Native Americans don't really give two damns about the sports teams, but still, nonetheless, I mean, you're taking them, and what are you going to do? You're going to change the team of Indians to just something else to represent Ohio, and I can promise you, it's not going to be anywhere near anything such as honorable as an Indian or taking something out of Kansas City as the Chiefs. I mean, what more do you want? I mean, you are kind of erasing a lot of history. You're just kind of erasing almost everything that you have to tag to Native Americans. It may not be the greatest way to honor Native Americans. I'm sure there's other ways. I'm sure there's national parks. I'm sure there's museums. I'm sure there's other things across the country that I'm not sure about right off the top of my head that I can't name right now because I haven't necessarily been there or seen them. But I'm sure there's other things that represent Native Americans. But I mean, our sports teams are just the same. Hell, the Kansas City Chiefs just won a Super Bowl. I mean, the leader of the pack won the Super Bowl. Who would have thought? But nonetheless, I mean, obviously they have no tie to actual Native Americans unless there's somebody on their team who's a Native American that I don't know about. Maybe Pat Mahomes got some Cherokee in him that I'm not completely unaware of. But nonetheless, I mean, a lot of these team names, I feel like it is taking a step a little bit. It's kind of being very reactive instead of proactive here. I mean, other than the name Indians, after changing Chief Wahoo, I don't think they have an Indian mascot. I could be wrong. And then their name is Progressive Field, named after an insurance company. So nothing too offensive there. As mentioned by Matt, the Chiefs, play an Arrowhead, but Arrowhead was literally a weapon of war. I mean, it wasn't just used by Indians. I mean, it was used by plenty of people back in the day. I mean, can't really narrow that down to one person. And even then, if it was so offensive, all you got to do is get a sponsorship. And I'm sure plenty of people are looking to sponsor the current reigning Super Bowl champs. So, I mean, if it's that big of an issue, we could get that taken care of, especially with Pat Mahomes out there. I'm sure everybody wants to throw their company name right behind Patrick Mahomes. And then, I mean, the Redskins, I think, is just the common ground. I think everybody's just like, yeah, the Redskins. I mean, it's kind of messed up. And I don't think anybody really, other than Redskins fans, I don't really see anybody who may have an issue with this. And I don't even think a lot of Redskins fans have an issue with this. I think they all are pretty aware that the team name kind of has ran its course and it's time to move on. So I guess the question kind of becomes, and RJ and I talked a little bit about this as well in the Pat Mahomes episode. So I'm going to start with you, Matt. Would you do, being Dan Schneider, obviously he said that the team name will never change, whatever, but society's cracking down. With Nike taking down all the merchandise, with FedEx leaving the team, are you going to, if you're the general manager of the Washington Redskins right now, are you doing a full-on brand rebuild, changing colors, changing everything you can about that team to try to erase all memory of it? Or are you just going to try to do some minor detail to try to get everything ready for the season coming up?
Well, it's clearly important as Nike, they make the jerseys, they produce the merchandise. That's a lot of money. FedEx paid $205 million to get the naming rights of the Redskins stadium. So these are big money deals that are in place. So I think if I'm Dan Snyder, I'm taking this pretty seriously. However, I don't see the need for a full rebrand in the sense of colors. I think it doesn't matter what color scheme you go with, as long as the name is changed into I don't want to say progressive. I don't want to say I will say politically correct, actually. Just something that isn't offensive to a certain race or group of people. I do see where some people come from on that, although, sensitivity is a growing thing nowadays. I will admit that. We actually posted a concept piece on our Instagram page. If you guys want to go follow that. GMs for Hire, a little plug. That'll be down in the description, I'm sure. Called the Washington Red Tails. Now, I didn't look too far into it. Just saw the concept art and a little backstory. But from my knowledge, the Red Tails were a group in World War II. I want to say it was, and they were one of the first African American battalions, something of that nature. And I think that'd be a good, especially with everything going on today, especially in America, the whole Black Lives Matter movement. What better way to kind of move things forward than, have some inclusion of a African American squadron or battalion, whatever the word is for it. I'm no soldier. I just cover sports. Something of that nature, representing Washington and the Washington football team.
Yeah, the quick little blurb that was on that Instagram post says that the name Red Tails celebrates a World War II Tuskegee Airmen who were the first African American military aviators in the United States Armed Forces. The nickname the Red Tails came from their planes, which had a distinct crimson tail. So, and the logos were, I really liked the logos of it. They honestly looked pretty clean. I'm going to throw up a picture of the jersey as well as a picture of the logo from that post up here on the video as well for anybody watching the YouTube version. But it's honestly not a bad idea. The only thing that I could think of why they may have to do a whole complete rebranding, and I was talking to RJ about this, is because Nike's pulled all the merchandise. And I think what everybody wants to do is they want to do their best to get away from that name Redskins. And I think if they keep the color scheme the same, a lot of people can get away with just wearing Redskins jerseys and coming into the stadium wearing jerseys that say Redskins, no matter what the team name ends up being. I'm not sure if they're going to go with the Red Tails and try to go not too far off from the Redskins. I don't know if they're going to go in a completely different direction. Maybe go something that represents patriotism or something such as that, since they are in Washington, D.C., and you already have the Nationals and the Capitals there. I'm not too sure what exactly their next move is. RJ, are you, you and I talked a little bit about it. Are you with the whole complete rebranding, or are you with just kind of changing a couple things and just trying to make it work for everybody?
Well, first off, I think it's funny that Nike pulled all their merchandise and that Nike is up front being woke, because they're running sweatshops over in China where you've got 5-year-olds making Lebrons for a penny a day. But the Redskins, they have a nice color, combo. I'd like to see them just kind of keep that. I know what you're saying about the rebuild and wanting everybody to buy new jerseys and things like that. People are going to buy jerseys regardless. I mean, the Bucks literally just did a jersey swap where they literally went back to what they had before this, whatever you call that garbage they wore the last 5 years, and people are buying it up. So people will always buy new jerseys. I don't think we got to worry about that. The one that I saw that really stands out, I think you're going to put it on the screen, you said, was the Washington Redhawks. And this guy, I don't remember who he works for, whatever. But this guy did uniforms, logos, merchandise, everything. And this whole Washington Redhawks look really looks good. So I would go with that if I was them. That seems to be the best one. Yeah, that's the one that looked the best to me.
Yeah, I remember looking at that Redhawks situation, and it was just a very similar logo to the current Redskins logo, but instead of the Native American head, it was just an R with an arrow going through it. It looked pretty clean, but Matt, I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Oh, no, you're good. I just had one on the fly because since you mentioned the whole patriotism theme with the not the Senators, that's what I was going to go with the Capitals and the Nationals, I was thinking the Washington Senators. We've seen that before. The Minnesota Twins used to be the Washington Nationals before they moved up to Minnesota many years ago. But, this wouldn't be the first time we see several leagues have teams of the same name, San Francisco Giants and the New York Football Giants. This would create the Ottawa Senators in the NHL and the Washington Senators in the NFL. I don't think that'd be a bad idea. I think it would get them away from the color scheme and away from even Red Tails and Red Hawks having red in it. Honestly, can make you think of Redskins. And going off of what you said about jerseys, yeah, people will buy new jerseys, but no matter what, people are still going to wear Redskins jerseys, especially if it's the same team. I mean, if I bought a Tom Brady jersey for the Bucks and they rebranded, Tom Brady's still on the team, I'm still going to wear it. That might be hard to do unless they ban Redskins gear from the stadium, which then I think might cause other problems with season ticket holders and whatever the case may be. But that's for Dan Snyder to figure out. Overall, though, I do see that as another potential idea. I'm sure you're about to share your thoughts on it, though, so you can go ahead with that.
Yeah.
What's up? I'm sorry. The Washington Redskins have been around since 1937. Whatever they change their name to, it's not going to sound right. It's going to sound like the Las Vegas Raiders. It's going to sound like the Los Angeles Chargers. It's not going to sound good. It's just not. And it's something that our kids are going to have to get used to saying, because we're still going to slip up and say Redskins. Just, we still say Oakland and San Diego, even though they don't have franchises. Like, that's just something that's going to have to, happen organically. As far as banning Redskins gear from the games, they have terrible attendance already. Don't start telling people what they can and can't wear, because now you're starting a whole list of problems there.
Well, we'll see exactly what Schneider's going to do, because he is, to be fair, he's put in a very hot situation right now, especially with how much people have been down his throat before and how hard-headed he seems he's going to be, saying that he'll never change the team name as long as he's general manager. Times are changing, buddy. The things are going to need to be made. Even whenever I think of like a complete rebuild, even whenever just changing like the tint of red to a little bit more, red and not like crimson, and then maybe going from a black, maybe going to a black instead of a gold, something like that. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be too much, because red is a color of patriotism, and if you're gonna stick with the patriotism theme in DC, I was thinking of potential names such as like I was talking with RJ about like the majors as a military rank, maybe the admirals, maybe the there was another one I was thinking of. I couldn't think of it right now off the top of my head. I forgot. The battalion. I mentioned the Washington Battalion, or the DC Battalion. I think it'd be interesting to see them just change Washington to go to DC something. We saw an attempt with the DC Defenders in the XFL. Rest in peace, XFL. But I'd like to see what exactly they're going to do, because we don't necessarily know. And right now it is just a matter of time. I'm assuming things are going to be changed before the season, maybe after the season, most likely. I'm assuming it won't be around much longer. All the other names, I'm assuming, will stick around. I know the Indians are doing a thorough look through into whether or not they should change it. We'll find out about that. Other teams, not yet. But don't be shocked if the door comes knocking where people are going to start complaining and changes are going to be asked to be made. That's unfortunately just the world we live in. Again, I'm not of any Native American descent, so I can't really put myself in the shoes. But I know if there was a white skins, I'd be kind of offended. But if there was a team called like the Caucasians, I'd be like, all right, yeah, whatever. It doesn't have a great ring to it, but I think I'd be all right with it. You know what? We'll do that. DC Caucasians. That's going to be the next team name. But
yeah,
no.
The woke social media warriors are gonna love that one. Let me tell you.
I can't believe I didn't put my face on the complaining about earlier, but I just put my face on that. That's a little rough. But other than that, any team, I'll go around and ask. I know Matt had some specifically. I know specifically for the Indians, I've heard him say this name plenty of times, that it's almost like he's going to call the team that from now on. I'll start with you, RJ. Other than the Red Hawks, actually, I shouldn't start with you because you don't want to change any other team name other than the Red. So RJ likes the Red Hawks. Again, those photos will pop up. If they don't pop up, I'll put a link in the description, one or the other. Matt, can you please share what your team name? I know for the Indians, you already mentioned the Red Tails for the Redskins. What was your Indians rename? I'd love to hear this, and I'd love to hear what RJ has to say about it.
Well, for the Indians, I'm very happy to, from here on out, refer to them as the Cleveland Spiders. There's so much history. They used to be the Cleveland Spiders back over 100 years ago, back when they had Cy Young. I just think it's very I don't know. The name excites me in more ways than one.
Nice.
Spiders is it's unique to me. I feel like you think of insect team names and you get hornets and and bees. I never hear spiders. And I think spiders is unique. It has history, and I just think it fits. I saw some great concept art, which I'll send to you, Will, to put up on the screen whenever on here. And it looks good. I just think it'd be an exciting change and something that a lot of people can get behind, especially with its storied past.
Yeah, I didn't know the Indians used to be named the Spiders. That's something I didn't know. I just thought you were pulling that name out of your ass. Like, I was so confused for a minute. I was like, where'd you even get that? But it makes more sense now that the name was actually named that. I had no idea.
Technically, it was a separate entity, but the Cleveland franchise that was there before the Indians were the Spiders.
Enough.
And they were the Naps at one point, named after Nap Lejoie, I want to say. He was French, but he was like their best player. He was like a player manager, so they named the team after him, which I saw some people on Twitter saying they should do that with Lindor. But Lindor is going to leave for New York soon anyway, so it has
the Cleveland Lindors does not sound great. But RJ, I can see your gears turning. What's cooking up there?
A spider? Really? You want to name a professional baseball team name a spider? Arachnophobia, the fear of spiders, is literally one of the biggest fears out there, other than the fear of snakes and the fear of dying. People don't like spiders. Why are you going to rebrand a team name that's been around 105 years to something that nobody likes? That's literally the worst thing you could possibly do, is call them a spider. I understand they might have been called the Spiders in the 1800s. Good for them. Who cares about the 1800s? No, that might be the dumbest thing. The Cleveland Spiders, get out of here with that. That's terrible.
It's sad how you're just taking this all as a joke. I get the shtick, but nah, come on, please.
That's terrible. That's literally trash.
The shtick was good for the first half, but now you're egging it on, and it's just not as good.
Am I? Because you're gonna
arachnophobia, really?
Why would you name a team name after an animal that nobody likes?
Who likes panthers?
They're literally the state animal of the state of Florida. They're protected in the state. So
they're protected doesn't mean they're not a threat.
Okay, they're a threat, but no one's deathly afraid if one runs into their house.
I'd be deathly afraid if a panther ran into my house.
Yeah.
If a panther ran into your house, you wouldn't be scared.
It's a stupid name, the Spiders. That's what? Who? No. What are we talking about? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's a garbage name.
The only other team name I can think of the Spiders is the University of Richmond. I know the University of Richmond is the Spiders. I want to say they're the Spiders. I know their logo is a
one college team, maybe.
I know their logo is a spider. I don't know if they're actually the Spiders. I'd have to figure that out.
It's not very common, so I thought it'd be
nice. It's not very common. It'd definitely be a different name that we haven't seen in sports before, at least in professional sports. At least not since the 1800s. I personally couldn't think of one for Cleveland. I thought of trying to do something around the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but the Rock Stars sounded a little too cheesy for me. Cleveland Rock Stars just it sounds almost more like a Landry Football League kind of team name. It sounds something like wouldn't be on a professional top four, branded kind of name. Kind of shot me as a little bit off. And then the Washington Redskins, I already mentioned on those, sticking more with a patriotic theme. And the only thing I could think of with the Chiefs is trying to go something around barbecue. Kansas City's huge with barbecue, whether it be the Smokers or be something such as that. Obviously, it's not going to be an actual smoker, but just to see the letters KC and a smoke effect would be kind of cool. Or maybe call them the Oinkers and just put a freaking pig on there, the Iron or was it the Iron Pigs or something like that? The Phillies minor league affiliate. Yeah, why not just embrace that? Put some bacon on a football helmet and call it a day. But I refuse to change the name Chiefs. As a guy whose nickname is Chief, I do not want to change the team name of the Chiefs. It's just badass. I just think it's badass.
I like Chiefs. I looked up Missouri state animal, and it doesn't really pan out, considering it's a mule. No, yeah. So that part won't work. That idea won't work in reference to the Florida Panthers and other teams that
I
have
don't
done.
know what the state animal of Ohio is.
I'm not sure. I was thinking
Fine.
back in the Arena Football League. May they rest in peace. That was my favorite football league. The Cleveland Gladiators were a team.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was pretty nice. Quite honestly, I liked the Cleveland Gladiators. Name wise,
That's talking RJ's language. You seem to be okay with that one.
you know,
No,
if
no,
the AFL
what I,
is this league, you can't not like the AFL.
no. What I said is there's the problem. If arena football was your favorite form of football over the NFL or college football, you got problems that go a lot deeper than changing the team name. So, yeah.
Well, I prefer more than 11 minutes of total gameplay throughout. But that's just me. That's just me.
Okay.
Arena football, you do be seeing some stupid scores you'll never see anywhere else. Just because the field's half as long and
Constant action.
there's no such thing as
The
defense.
Tampa Bay Storm were so fun to watch, and I don't think that
They
can
wore
be.
Zumba pants once.
And they were successful. They were an actual successful Tampa Bay football team. It was nice.
You don't hear that much. We'll see. But until then, I think that could pretty much wrap up the renaming. Dan Schneider's got a big decision in his hands alongside the rest of the team. I know Ron Rivera is pushing heavy to get the team name changed. I'm sure a lot of the athletes. I saw Dwayne Haskins put out a tweet saying that he liked the Red Tails. I want to say is the team name he said he liked. He said the Red Tails or the Red Hawks, one of the ones you two said. Any closing thoughts on that one? Matt, RJ, anything?
Yeah. Cleveland Indians, Kansas City Chiefs. I think those names sound pretty good.
They sound good to me. Matt,
Yeah.
any closing thoughts?
I hope RJ finds a spider under his pillow tonight. And never forget the AFL.
There you go. Well, until then, we'll see what happens between all these team names. But until then, I'm Will Polston. That's RJ. That's Matt. We've been the GMs for Hire. Let us know if you guys want to see any other topics, or maybe even we'll take on a crappy team later on and we'll try to rebrand them because some of these teams are horrible. What kind of team name is the Pelicans? Let's get that out of here. But until then, we're the GMs for Hire, as mentioned. We'll see you next time. Peace.